Let's talk about something that society loves to whisper about, but rarely discusses openly. Why do older women choose younger men? And I'm not talking about the Hollywood cliches or the cougar stereotypes that get thrown around. I'm talking about real, genuine relationships where accomplished, attractive, mature women are actively choosing to be with men who are significantly younger. The mainstream narrative wants you to believe it's just about physical attraction or some midlife crisis. But the reality is so much deeper, so much more complex, and honestly, so much more interesting than those surface level explanations. What I'm about to share with you might challenge everything you thought you knew about age gap relationships. So, before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why some of the most confident, successful, beautiful older women seem to gravitate toward younger men? Have you noticed this pattern and thought, what is it that these younger guys have that men their own age don't? That's exactly what we're unpacking today. Reason number one, younger men bring energy that matches their ambition. Here's something most people don't understand about successful older women. They didn't get where they are by slowing down or settling. They got there by being driven, by being ambitious, by constantly pushing forward. And somewhere along the way, they realized that men their own age had stopped growing. Think about it. By the time a man hits his late 40s or 50s, there's often this sense of, I've made it, I'm done climbing, I just want to coast. And there's nothing wrong with that for some people. But for a woman who's still building empires, still chasing goals, still excited about what's next, that energy mismatch becomes suffocating. Enter the younger man. He's still hungry. He's still got that fire in his eyes. He's working late nights. He's taking risks. He's not afraid to fail because he knows he has time to recover. That energy is intoxicating to an older woman because it mirrors her own drive. She sees in him the same ambition she had at his age, and in many ways, still has. This isn't about her trying to relive her youth. It's about her finding someone who can actually keep up with the pace of her life. Someone who doesn't see her career ambitions as threatening, but as inspiring. Someone who celebrates her wins instead of feeling diminished by them. Reason number two, they're more open-minded about gender roles. Let's be real about something. Men who grew up in a certain era were conditioned with very specific ideas about what a man should be and what a woman should be. The man provides, the woman nurtures, the man leads, the woman follows. And while those dynamics work for some couples, they're suffocating for others. Younger men, generally speaking, grew up in a different world. They saw their mothers working. They saw women in positions of power. They were raised with more fluid concepts of masculinity and femininity. So when they meet an older woman who's successful, who's independent, who makes her own money and calls her own shots, they're not intimidated. They're attracted to it. An older woman doesn't want to date a man who needs to be the dominant one in every situation. She's been managing her own life, making her own decisions, handling her own business for decades. What she wants is a partner, not a patriarch. And younger men are far more likely to offer that kind of partnership. They don't have fragile egos that need constant validation. They don't feel threatened when she earns more or knows more about certain subjects. They're comfortable in their own skin in a way that allows her to be comfortable in hers. That's incredibly attractive to a woman who spent years dealing with men who saw her success as a challenge to their manhood. Reason number three, the physical connection is undeniable. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, physical attraction plays a role, but not in the shallow way people assume. It's not just about younger bodies or stamina, though that doesn't hurt. It's about the quality of the physical connection. Younger men are more present during intimacy. They're more exploratory, more willing to communicate, more focused on mutual pleasure rather than just their own. They grew up in an era where conversations about consent, communication, and female pleasure are normalized. That makes them better partners in the bedroom. And for an older woman who maybe spent years in relationships where her pleasure was an afterthought, where intimacy became routine or even transactional, this is revolutionary. She's finally with someone who genuinely cares about her experience, who asks what she likes, who takes the time to learn her body. There's also something powerful about being desired by someone younger. Society tells older women they're becoming invisible, that their value decreases with age. When a younger man looks at her with genuine desire, when he's attracted to not just her body, but her confidence, her experience, her mind, it's validating in a way that's hard to describe. It's not about ego. It's about feeling seen and wanted in a world that often tells her she shouldn't be. Reason number 4, there's less emotional baggage. By the time people reach their 40s and 50s, they often carry decades of relationship trauma, bitter divorces, betrayals, resentments that never fully healed. They're jaded, guarded, sometimes cynical about love. And that's understandable given what they've been through. But here's what happens in those relationships. All that baggage becomes the third person in the room. Every new relationship is haunted by the ghosts of past ones. Every disagreement triggers old wounds. Every vulnerability is met with walls built from previous hurts. Younger men, relatively speaking, carry less of that weight. They haven't been through multiple divorces. They haven't accumulated decades of romantic disappointment. They're more optimistic about love, more willing to be vulnerable, more open to the possibility of something real. For an older woman, this is refreshing beyond measure. She's not dealing with someone who's constantly comparing her to his ex-wife or bringing up wounds from relationships that ended 20 years ago. She's with someone who sees her for who she is right now, not through the lens of all his past failures. That doesn't mean younger men are perfect or drama-free, but there's a lightness to being with someone who hasn't been hardened by decades of relationship battles. There's space for joy, for spontaneity, for actually enjoying each other without constantly bracing for the next betrayal. Reason number 5, they offer emotional availability that older men lost. This might be the most important reason and the one people talk about least. Emotional availability. The willingness to be present, to communicate, to be vulnerable, to actually engage in the emotional aspects of a relationship. Many older men, shaped by traditional masculinity, learn to suppress emotions, to see vulnerability as weakness, to avoid deep conversations about feelings. They can provide, they can protect, but they can't connect on that emotional level that makes relationships truly intimate. Younger men are different. They grew up in a world where therapy is normalized, where talking about mental health isn't taboo, where emotional intelligence is valued. They're more comfortable saying, "I'm scared," or "I need support," or "I love you, and here's why." They're more willing to go to therapy, to read relationship books, to actually work on themselves. For an older woman who's spent years feeling emotionally starved in relationships, this is everything. She finally has a partner who will have those 3 a.m. conversations about life and meaning and fear. She has someone who will actually process conflict instead of shutting down or walking away. She has someone who sees emotional intimacy not as a chore, but as a vital part of connection. This emotional availability creates a depth of relationship that transcends age. It's not about him being younger. It's about him being present, being engaged, being willing to show up fully in the relationship. And that's something many older women have been searching for their entire lives. So, there you have it. 5 real, honest reasons why older women choose younger men. The matching energy and ambition, the open-mindedness about gender roles, the quality of physical connection, the lack of heavy emotional baggage, and the emotional availability that creates real intimacy. These aren't shallow reasons. These are profound compatibility factors that make these relationships not just work, but thrive.